Ajetumobi Olumayowa. You're still joining us on the Wibbifit 2024 Women in Banking, Business, Investment, Finance, and Insurance Technology 2024. This next session promises to be an exciting one. I really don't have much to say right now. I will hand you over to the moderator of this session, Kemi Oluwa Kemi Onipede. Over to you. Good morning, Kemi. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Good
It's
morning,
over to
everyone.
you.
All right, that's fine. Good morning, everyone. I don't know if it's morning, or it's afternoon, or it's evening, from wherever it is that you are joining. My name is Uluwa Kemi, and in today's section, we'll be talking about leadership insights, overcoming challenges, and financial and advancing success. So in this panel section, we have Charity and we have Women. They'll be answering our questions, and I hope you learn one or two. All right, so we'll just dive right into it, and so Charity and Women, anyone can answer any of the questions. At some point, I might just be directing questions to either of you. So I'm going to start with the first things. We know that now women are becoming more. Oh, okay. Maybe just before I go, Charity and Women, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience so that they get to know you more? And we can
Good
start with Women.
morning. Okay, my name is Bonnie Onoaje, pronounced Bo and Ne. I will currently work as the Director of Sales for Agency Banking and Strategy Partnership for Fair Money Microfinance Bank. Prior to working in Fair Money, I've worked in First Bank, Polaris, OPay, promoting financial inclusion across the fintech and the banking sector. So I'm happy to be here to contribute and then also listen to other speakers as well. Thank you.
All right. Great to have you here. Charity.
Sure, I'm Charity Wainaina. I'm based in Nairobi. I'm currently an entrepreneur in marketing technology. I run a Belgium-based franchise, but I have had a rich history in financial services where my heart is. I've worked in microfinance for 10 years. I've worked for Paulu Microfinance Bank and Old Mutual Group in East African markets. I'm a good head of marketing and brand.
Wow, thank you. That's great. Good to know that. So, the audience, you have a bit of an idea of who our panelists are today. So, I'm going to start with the first question, and for both of you, you guys have been in leadership roles and the fintech. We know that this is more of I think fintech is really really growing. Like I think since COVID, the fintech industry. So my questions would be, what leadership qualities are essential for women navigating the financial industry, and how can they cultivate these habits? So I'm going to start with Charity. When you're also going to answer this question because you've grown from First Bank to Fair Money and all of that. Charity, you have over 10 years experience and all of that. So what are the leadership qualities that are essential for women navigating the financial industry, and how can they cultivate these habits?
Thank you, Kimi. I think that the leadership qualities that I will be talking about, probably they are not necessarily just for women, but they would apply to men too. But I think I'll put in the nuance for us as women. So one of the things that we do realize that we are even in this conference, first of all, because we are different, how women lead. So the self-awareness of who I am as a woman, how I experience leadership and approach it. That's very important because men experience leadership and approach it differently from how women experience it. Some of the traits that as a female I am supposed to carry tend to look very weak when we put on a female leader. A female alone is different from a female leader. Sometimes that's what we've been made to think, but that sometimes isn't true. And so we have to, first of all, understand how we are experiencing our leadership journey. we have to remember that there is a concept that I came across, and a lot of research has been done. I think it's one of the leaders in Colorado University, and she was discussing about something that was raised by Sheryl Sandberg, a former CEO for Facebook then, and who mentioned about leadership efficacy, that we have to have these uh, the ability to believe that you can lead. So, yes, you are a leader, but do you believe that you can lead? And that also determines the courage you have, the kind of decisions you have, and the ability to even want leadership positions. So, I believe as leaders, women leaders, it's first of all the self awareness and understanding where we are at on the spectrum of taking on leadership roles and leadership challenges as they come, so that then we are able to stay in that space. And most importantly, I think it's also the place of us women working within the lens of our values. I think it's important as a quality, as a value driven leader. We need to be able to hold that as our ground. And that is essential because then it allows you to navigate some of the very male dominated industry like financial services, as opposed to trying to look at yourself as a woman. But the values that you hold should be able to prompt you. So I think, in short, I will give it at that.
All right. Thank you, Charity. So two things I picked from your answer is self-awareness and value. You need to know and also believe in yourself that I can do this regardless of it being a male-dominated area. I think I can relate to that. I've had to work briefly in an FMCG, and I think I understand when you say that we women working in male-dominated environment. All right. So, Pune, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Kemi and Charity. Thank you for throwing more light on that topic. So, for me, I think that the financial industry is fast changing. So, we know that it's very dynamic. There's current trends, there's a trend today, and then there's another tomorrow. So, I think that one of the most important skill is to be resilient, to be adaptive to change for leaders generally. And then as women, you have to understand what is going on in the industry across the globe, right? We know that is a dynamic industry. So resilience is one of the skills. And then embracing change, understanding that change is an opportunity for growth and and transformation, right? So rather than saying that change or current trends in the industry or ever changing trend in the industry is an obstacle, rather see it that is an opportunity for innovation, is an opportunity for growth, is an opportunity for transformation. Another skill that is really important is effective communication, right? So according to an Harvard Business Review, over 65% of leaders acknowledge that, both male and female, acknowledge that they have obstacles in their leadership roles, they face challenges. And then one of the most prevalent is communication. So you see in the course of work, you see that communication is ambiguous, people do not understand their roles, they don't understand what they need to do. So I would say that effective. So for me, the most some of the most important skills, in addition to what Charity has mentioned, is resilience, brazen up change, embracing change, and then communication, developing your communication skills, and then setting clear goals. So setting a clear vision, understanding, okay, where am I as an individual? Does my goals align with that of my organization? And then having success, defining or having success metrics where you can monitor, where you can see where am I going, where have I gone, have I achieved the successes that I've set out to do. All right, and then having a measurement criteria, and then metrics for measuring how well you've attained what you set out to do from the onset. So just in summary, just and also in addition to what Charity has said, just to recap, I would say that change, embracing change is very important in our industry. You can't take that away. Effective communication, building effective communication skills, and setting clear goals as a team player or as a leader, setting clear goals and ensuring that your goals align with that of the organization that you're in.
Oh
Thank you.
wow. That's like very, very insightful. So, yeah, I think I really do agree with all that has been said. So, to the audience, we have self awareness, we have values, we have being confident that you can do the role, you're resilient, and also being adaptive to change and effective communication. I think if you are working in the corporate world, I think effective communication is really, really key. So we are not assuming that this is what he expected of me, especially when you are a woman. There's this, even just before you assume that role, there's already the bias just waiting, even without people getting to know the real you and what you're even capable of doing. And I think um, just because we've touched on the gender bias, I think or the gender biases, I think that this is what to inform my next question. So he said that how do women in leadership role overcome gender biases and stereotypes in traditionally male dominated sector like banking and finance? I know that we've touched a bit when Bune mentioned being adaptive to change and effective communication. But now, so in leadership roles, especially maybe you're on the board and they're just about, say we have 10 males and they're just one or two females, and you want to you want to voice your opinion, you want to make sure that what I'm saying I think would work. So how do women in leadership overcome these gender biases and stereotypes in traditionally male dominated sectors like banking and finance? I don't know who wants to go first. Bone, you want to start, then we'll hand over to Charity.
Okay, thank you very much, Kemi.
Go back
So I
in here.
think that yes, I think that as women or as individuals in the corporate world, one thing that stands out is building skill and competence, right? So regardless of if you're a man or a woman, building skill and competence is very critical. Secondly, as women, since we're focusing on women, I would say that understanding your uniqueness and your unique ability. So, what makes you stand out, right? What is that skill that you have? What's that thing that you can do better than everyone else? So, understanding your competitive advantage. What do I have that others do not have, or what skill do I have that I can really leverage on to create a lasting impact? Right. So
Mm,
it's about understanding your core strengths and also looking inwards and understanding, okay, what core strengths do I have? What core competencies do I have? What inner values do I have that makes me stand out, that gives me leverage over others? And then there has to be like a conscious effort or a continuous effort to work at it, to continually learn, to continually upscale, and then that just sets you apart from others. And also understanding your business. So if you're in a fintech industry, you're in the banking industry, you have to understand your business like critically. So I would say that you need to understand, so what are your stakeholder needs, what are their specific needs, what business solutions are you providing such that it caters for their needs, their goals, and their aspirations. So that's what I would I hope I've been able to. Yeah.
yeah, like I say, I'm also jotting because I also want to learn. All right, Charity, you've worked in the microfinance, even in traditional bank, even have to run your own business. So, can you just throw more light on this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kemi, and thank you, Bonnie, for what you have mentioned, especially the technical skills that are supposed to be an equalizer. Then you should see that I can do what a man can do. I would like to call out the issue of recognizing our own internal barriers, recognizing that these stereotypes exist, trying to understand how this even can be affecting your own identity and how you're showing up as a woman leader. So this is very important because you need to get grounded and you're just not doing because I want to be like them, I want to show I'm not a woman. No. So we are trying to make sure that you understand that some of these things have been ingrained in us since we are very young, And research has been done on 18 to 22-year-olds who have not even stepped in a workplace and been exposed to gender bias or discrimination, or have had to deal with family life, work life balance. And most of them, interesting was that these women, these young ladies, are already exhibiting leadership qualities like collaborating and being able to communicate effectively as to what they want to achieve. But when asked if they will take up leadership roles, most of them, they freaked out. They said no, no. And why? While men who were not even applying most of these qualities felt very confident to take on these leadership roles. So, understanding that we are coming from a place where, in a subtle way, we have been able to give up our space to understand that we lead differently and we need a little bit more support. I think that in itself should allow us then to come back and say, so how do I put in place my support? How do I ground myself to actually then show up? So for me, I will be looking at overcoming some of these gender biases from a place where you know what's happening. And so you're being able to start taking the courage, first of all, to lead, starting to being able to show up and say, yes, I'm willing to do this. If it's in a meeting, women will probably not ask that question or think about it too much. And they will come up, in an almost apologetic way. It's to know that this is what is influencing me and I need to change this around. That's very important. And you are consciously working at it. As you take those small steps, you are being able to find the courage and you're being brave enough to finally navigate the universe and understand the interactions that are going on. So, away from the technical capabilities that we're building, we also need to look into what's the source of this and how do I approach it in a way that grounds me as a woman.
Wow. Thank you very much. I like the fact that we're able to balance it, speak from the technical skills to the soft skills, and to also I know that yeah, it's true. Naturally, women would just like, please, I just want to work and just get things done. I don't want the limelight. But it's interesting to note that we have so much in us. You even find that women going for different courses. They know so much, but when it's time to just take up that role, sometimes we tend to shy away because of that. So one of the things I noted down was that and which I think is key and we need to reiterate is to identify your core values as a woman. This will also help also identify your skills. I think what makes you stand out. I think that's true. Women are nurturers, and I believe that whatever it is that we have, we there's that drive in us to say that this thing has to work. So we can leverage on that part to say, okay, what are the skills that I have that would help me stand out in this organization? And sometimes it's not even in the big things, it's in those little things that you think that do not matter, but trust me, people are watching, people are seeing that, and understanding the business needs and also understanding your business. I think one of the things I've also learned, though not really in the finance industry per se, but being a tech sales manager, at some point I've come to know that you must know your products, you must know that business, you must know, you are aware of what is going on in the industry and even with your competitors. All right, then. Thank you, Charity Abume. Okay, so I'll move to the next question, and I think that both of you have been able to touch about it briefly, but I'll just also like to ask for those who are still trying to navigate this part. What strategies can women employed to negotiate effectively for leadership role positions and career advancement opportunity? Women, I know that you mentioned that um, doing what it takes to stand out, like doing what it takes to can it easily identify you from the crowd to say, oh, this person is this way. But so just aside that, what are strategies that women can employ to negotiate effectively? I know that when it even comes to negotiating, sometimes we shy away and they're like, okay, so I'll just do this one. But what can we do to negotiate effectively for leadership positions and career advancement opportunities?
Okay, so research has shown and it has been proven that there's a huge pay inequality amongst genders even across the world. So for me, I think is owning. So just like a recap of all we've been saying is owning your skills, also building competency, right? Like I know I can do this. I have the skill. I have the competency, and assertively um, um, speaking about what you're worth or saying what you're worth assertively and confidently, right? So building skills, being assertive, negotiate, of course, understanding the nuances of effective negotiation. And there's where also communication comes to play. And then skill building, understanding, okay, this is my expertise, this is what I'm coming to do, this is the experience that I have, and owning it and not being afraid to speak about it and let your work also speak for you, right? And then
Yeah.
record keeping is very important. You'll be able to showcase what you have done over time, right? And let your work also speak for you. Another thing that is also important for women is networking, building the right network across so that you have mentors or people that you're looking up to that has done those that have done gone ahead of you and done the things that you are trying to do or in the space that you're in currently. I think that it is very important. So take up your responsibilities, take ownership, be confident, assertively speak about the skills that you have and own your work, right? Own your space. If you're giving a task, if you have a responsibility, own it, right? And then assertively ask for what you want. So I know that there is imposter syndrome even to the best of us. So confidently speak about the things that you want and showcase your expertise so that and then come with of course with knowledge. So if you're negotiating for a role, you have to have done your research to understand what is obtainable in this industry
Yeah.
for both genders so that you're not shortchanged, right? And you are confidently, and then you move on to the next one. If you're rejected and you know that, of course, spoken to your mentors, you've done your research, you've done all that you're supposed to do, and then you're still not giving what you're worth, I think it's best for you to just move on to the next one.
All right, thank you, women. Charity.
Sure. I think Rene has really touched on a lot. And I would like to add on to the component of having let your work speak for you. But I would speak on it from a place of doing your homework and doing some research around the people you want to negotiate with. What do they resonate with? So that then you package yourself in a way that they understand. I know we all know about all our love languages, but there's also people's work languages. And it's good to know if you are sitting with stakeholders or people who are looking at you from a numbers perspective. There are some who are very strong on the people management skills, others are looking for culture. So, doing your homework when you're getting to the table as to what are the areas I need to score for this conversation. So every conversation comes with its own different agenda, and even what scores highly is different. So that homework is important, and the people you're talking to, if you speak their language, then it's likely to work for you. What I like to do is I would like to play out the scenarios that could happen in this negotiation for myself and allow people whom I trust to engage with those scenarios and give me their advice. Did I answer them correctly? Did I get what they meant by those questions? Did I completely go off tangent? So that also helps when you come into negotiating this. And then I will add that you will also need to have people in the organization or in the industry that are your ambassadors. They are ahead of you, and so they can speak for you in some of these rooms where we are not able to get in. You will understand that sometimes you come onto the table to negotiate, but there are conversations that have happened behind that conversation. You are not the first person in it. And as women leaders, we need to be very, very cognizant of this. Who are these people who are speaking about you, your passion, your aspirations, your work, and they are able to point you so that when you get to the table, you're simply reinforcing what has already gone into the space that you want to enter. So I think that those two I would add into what Bonnie has mentioned.
All right. Thank you very much. So just reiterating, so that our audience can, for people who are taking notes, just building competency. I think is very key. I like to say something that no knowledge is a waste. You might think it's not relevant at that moment, but if you have the opportunity to learn it, just learn it, and you never can tell where you will need that. And also being assertive, being saying that I know this can work, and this is what I want. I think it goes a very long way for us, as women. I think it goes a very long way for us as women. Okay, so the next question that I would like to ask, I think Bune mentioned that she just touched on it a bit, but I think it's also important that we probably elaborate on this question. So how can women leaders advocate for equal pay and opportunities for advancement within the organization? Okay, so just before you answer that question, I'll just like to share, just maybe just help the kind of answers that we're expecting. I'll just share like a something that happened to me based on this question. Something that happened to me, and when we say that advocate for equal pay and opportunity for advancement. I remember the time I was applying to a particular multinational, and I got to the final stage, and questions like, okay, so who's going to take you have to be traveling a lot, right? And so for the role I applied for, it meant that I had to travel maybe outside Nigeria or within Nigeria. It comes with the role, which I knew before I applied. And one of the recruiters said, "Oh, so who's going to take care of the family? Um, do you think it's something that you're going to do, because it's very stressful, moving from one place to the other? There are days you might not even get to sleep when you got to sleep." And I'm like, I know about this before applying, and I also have the support of my family. But trust me, that was why I wasn't employed, because they feel like I might not be able to travel as much as they would have wanted me to, or they feel like maybe family is going to be a distraction and all of that. So how do we overcome this? Because I think it's something that if a man can do it, why can't I? Right? So, how do women advocate for equal pay and opportunities for advancement within the organization? Now, this is for people who are already in the organization. For me, I wasn't there yet, but I know that maybe for some other women who have probably experienced this. So, over to you, Charity.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for sharing your story. Some of these are gifts when we share our stories. And my work life, I did go through similar, interesting, and very, I can say, stretchy seasons of growth. And when it comes to that, there were two things. I'll give from a good example when I was rising up the ranks. So you will notice that a woman who's rising up and a woman who comes in from outside, there is a bit of a difference in how they are handled. So I was rising up in a leadership position, and I had more men. I think we were only two ladies, if I'm not wrong. It was myself, head of marketing, and the group HR, which are normally roles sometimes you find women in. And at that point, then it took it had to take someone who will be able to sit at the table and actually advocate for women and say, look, I was actually just starting to have my firstborn, and I was to have a secondborn in a very few, probably a year or so after that. So, and I was also performing very well at that point. So my work is showing, but I'm also very active on the family front. So these two things are moving together. And so for someone to imagine that you will not be able to deliver on a job just because you are handling a role that's more obvious and probably more visible than men on the family front, it is quite to say unfair. But for me, I think one of the things that happened was I found a CEO who was truly sold out to what he saw in me. It was even a man that was even the shocking bit. He saw what I carried and what I was able to deliver. I had bought into the passion. So, and he could tell that I wanted to deliver onto the vision that the business had. So, part of the things that I would say is trying to put forth a female leader's visible engagement, passion, and inspiration around the vision of the organization. And with that, immediately it shifts from being the person to what they want to do for the business. And for me, when we now come to what they have to offer as value for the business, it's easier then to discuss in terms of I see there is no difference around this. In fact, they've been able to do this, they've been responsible for this, they've taken initiative for this. And when now it's apple to apple that you're trying to discuss here, it's about delivery on the work that's expected and going over and beyond because women are known to do that. We seem to push ourselves even in places where most likely men will take an excuse, ask to be given some time off. You'll find a woman will run breastfeed, come back, push. And I did that. I was handling a rebranding that was very huge. And I remember traveling around the entire country with bottles of milk, were expressing and carrying them in freezers to be able to come back home and give them to my child. Those are qualities in women that we should find a way to package. I'm not sure we are packaging that enough to be in a language that the corporate world understands. And I don't have the answer. I'm a communication specialist, but I think it's high time our talent teams understood how to package this quality and call it out in a way that is able to progress the conversation we are having right now. And I will be curious to even see how that will be packaged so that then it speaks into the corporate language of performance, results oriented, um, transformational change, and all these KPIs that show success and demand compensation at that level. Because I think women are already scoring it. It's just not packaged in a way that speaks to how the current remuneration actually is, is sitting.
All right. Thank you, Charity. Hi, Bonnie. Good to have you back. So we're just touching on the question, how women leaders can advocate for equal pay and opportunities for advancement within the organization. And I just shared like a brief story of myself, where I was applying for a certain role, not in my organization. Now, this question is within the organization, and I think you can also touch on it on even outside the organization, because as at then when I applied for this role, it was an opportunity, and it was something that I was confident that I could do, and also that I felt like, okay, with the right trainings and working with the right line managers, asking questions, I was going to do my job. Like, I was I was that confident. And surprisingly, I got to so it was 3 stages. I got to the final stage. And someone on the team goes like, so how are you going to manage family? Because this role will require that you travel a lot outside Nigeria. Within Nigeria, there are times that you are away for about 3 weeks, 1 month. I was like, oh, I knew that before I applied. I spoke with the right stakeholders, and they're like, if you want this, you can go for it as long as it's something that you are sure that you want to do. And if this will help you progress in your career, why not? And that was my response to him. And I was like, he's not sure. You know, you women, you can wake up one morning and say, oh, I want to go on maternity leave. I don't think. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I at that point, I already started having like, how much I was in the job anyway. And actually, I did not even get the job. So I just want to, and Charity mentioned something that she had an experience where she had to call the CEO. Where I didn't even know that I could do that. I wasn't even sure I could call the CEO because it was a multinational, and even that feedback, I had to request for feedback when I did not hear from them, and the talent manager was kind enough to say that it wasn't that you did not qualify, but this was some of the biases that, and there wasn't really nothing he could do at that point. So, okay, I think someone asked a question. We'll take your question, Major. Um, I'll take your question, but I want Goodnet to answer this question. How do we advocate for equal pay and opportunities?
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your experience, Kemi. So I think that every woman has had similar experience in the course of our careers, like even in the corporate world, even in the informal sector, every woman has a story to tell how we have been profiled, right? It's just because we are women. So for me, I've also had my fair share. I think it's not an individual conversation per se. I think it's a global conversation, and then is an institutional conversation. Um, Recently, we've seen that a lot of women have been having MDs and CEO position in banks, in first tier banks in Nigeria. So that's like a first and major step in the right direction, right? Like I say, I've also had my fair share. I think that I heard Charity also mentioned it. I think for women, it also comes down to, so on the organization side, it has to be like a culture thing, understanding, and it has to cascade from top to bottom. Understanding that being female does not mean you are incompetent or you are disadvantaged, right? It has to cascade in terms of policy, in terms of culture. And then on the individual parts, you also have to show competence and capability, right? So me, I don't like to say, oh, because I'm female, I'm not, I can't do what I'm meant to do. So it's being understanding of your roles and responsibilities. And when people see that, oh, you are competent, you have the skill, you have the you have the knowledge. And in the situation where you've done everything that you're supposed to do and you are still profiled just because you're female, and then you need to take it up at the organization or at the leadership or management level, because I think that a lot of organizations are doing well to promote female leadership even across the world. So if you're still profiled, or if women are still profiled, they need to take up the organization constructively and put it up front that this is not right. I shouldn't be profiled in a certain way just because I'm female. I should be profiled based on my expertise, my experience, the skills, and what I bring to the table.
Mm. All right. Thank you, Gome. Thank you for that. And thank you, Charity, too.
Expertise, experience,
So I think
skills, and what I
there's a
bring
question here from Mayor Ajat. She said,
to the table.
will you say that there's enough chance or opportunity for women as leaders in the present workplace ecosystem? We have quite a bit of experience in the present. Okay, Charity, while Gomen joins us back, please can you answer this question? Do you think
There
that
was even some background
there's
noise.
enough opportunity for women in this present ecosystem?
Okay. Sorry, Kemi, there was a lot of background noise at that point, but I did see the question and I understand.
Okay,
And I will speak to it. I would like to pick a good example from my time at Paulo Microfinance Bank.
okay,
There is opportunity for women as leaders in the present workspace indeed. I would say this with confidence because I saw it happen. We had a male leader, a CEO, and I would say that's one of the men I really look up to as a leader because he taught me a lot. But what was for me most important in this question is that the organization needed to take a real change. We were moving from a credit only institution into a regulated institution. And we all understand that different seasons of organizations need different leaders. This leader was able to recognize very well that the next level of growth for the institution needed a leader who had a certain skills, but also was a nurturer and brought in some of the skills that female leaders bring in. So I saw in terms of understanding the different seasons of organizations or even what they want to achieve and how that suits female leadership, women leadership, that sometimes is experienced a bit differently from male leadership. So there is space in that sense, but not just because we are women and can handle especially change management differently and for different phases of growth of the institutions, but also there are skills right now that women are holding and they've really pushed boundaries in. And those are the areas that are actually being sought at. There are women who have pushed a lot of skills and poured themselves into technology right now. And that's where the world is looking at. How do we leverage technology? There's so much that's changing around us. And we are seeing most of the women right now are sitting in very high roles in technology businesses because of what they are able to balance and just look at it. Technology won't do everything, but there's also a human aspect to it. What are they bringing to the table? So as we see skills and competences grown in both gender, there's also an element that women seem to balance out because of their nature. And this is being looked at. But for me, I would call out a transformational change season that needed a good female leader, and she handled it perfectly. She's one of the role models I look up right now, having navigated the financial services industry for 34 years. I would say I saw that. And she also went back and pulled up so many female leaders. By the time she was leaving, actually on the exco of the organization, we were almost 50-50, having come from where we were only two. So there is space and that space can be created.
wow, that's very, 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 very impressive. Okay, so I think I would like women to answer this question. Women have been seen by people to be mean when they become leaders. What could be the cause of this, and how can this be managed?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. So I think that it might be a perception thing, and then it might also be a bias, right? So women can be seen to be mean when what could be the cause of this. I wouldn't say that women are mean. I've had fantastic, just my best bosses have, so I'm speaking from personal experience. My best bosses over the years have been female, and some of them are still in the industry today, right? So I've seen how they've watched, they were interested in my growth and progress. They were interested in my experience. They were interested in fostering relationship, right? And wanting me to excel. So I all my experience, I would say that women bosses actually empowered me and gave me more opportunities to strive. So personally, I don't think women are mean, but we might perceive them as being mean because we understand that the challenges that women face in the industry or in the corporate world, they would be sometimes they'll be perceived as incompetence. So in a bid to prove ourselves, we want to now prove ourselves. Some people it might rub off as being mean, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just about perception because personally, I've had fantastic bosses, and I don't think that women are mean when they become leaders. I just feel that sometimes we perceive their assertiveness as arrogance sometimes, and then that rubs off on the people they're leading. But personally, I've had fantastic women bosses all through my career.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you, women. Please feel free to drop questions. Please be free to ask questions, and we'll love to take them. Okay, so my next question will be that so it's on mentorship. So mentorship. I've had both of you talking about um, being mentored or having people who can who actually believed in you and all of that. So I want to ask this question. So I'll talk based on personal network and also mentorship. So how can women or are women leaders, whether you're a leader as a woman or you're aspiring to sit at the leadership position someday, um, how should we navigate or build or leverage on professional networking and mentorship? I like the fact that women said that most of the leaders that she had had to work with were female and they believed in her and they saw something in her and has pushed her to where she is today. Also, Charity also mentioned particular was someone who she looked up to and all of that. So how do we leverage on this network or on this mentorship? How do we even get there in the first place? I can see that um when women introduce themselves, I'm like, fair money. I know about fair money. I know that that's how relationship are built. I met you, and but sometimes we don't know. Maybe for lack of words, or maybe you feel like this person is not going to. But what is it? This person has a lot of people that she's trying to mentor or she's trying to push here and there. So how as women, how do we navigate this? How do we work on this building professional networks and also getting the right mentorship to say, okay, I think I love what this person is doing. It's what he or she could even be a male, funny enough, but now we're focusing on women. I love what they are doing, and this is something I also want to do. And they've made mistakes, they have experiences, they're able to navigate me in the right path. So, how do we go about this? Anyone can go. Anyone can.
Okay, thank you for that question because growing up in my leadership journey, and having worked largely with men in the excos, and even the same will play out in the board meetings. And you'll always find there were more men in board meetings and less women in the board meetings. I did watch how the women in leadership, first of all, it was my CEO, the one I've mentioned. Her name is Lydia Koros. She's well known in the African circles. And I watched how she handled herself, not just with us as EXCO members, but I also watched how she handled herself in the board meetings because she was also facing a board where there were largely men, and this helped me a lot. So I'm talking from a place where women can now start looking at mentors, role models within that this space, and start watching how they behave, how she managed to ask questions between my male colleagues and ourselves. When she noticed you were quiet and you were really in thought, she knew that you were going through a mental battle of, should I say this, should I not say this? She knew how women think. And she called us out to answer. Charity, what do you have to say about this? And most of the time, she knew you had the right answer and you could really unlock the stalemate, but you were doubting yourself. So when as I watched her do this often, I started getting the courage to lead in the same way. Because when I started out as a leader, young leader, I did badly in people management. I was perfect in managing self, but I was struggling in managing other people and leading them. So one of the things we can leverage is be intentional when you are watching female leaders around you, what they are doing and how they're being able to communicate, how they're managing their emotions, regulating themselves, how much they're aware about what's going around them, the empathy they have. That's one of the things that I would say helps a lot in terms of watching upwards, as others are also watching on you from behind, because you have subordinates that are also looking up to you. And also in terms of accepting some of the invitations to go out and listen to people who have done this thing. Some were board members that will tag me along and tell me, Charity, I want you to get involved into this organization. First of all, you will step in feeling quite fearful and meek. But as you sit in that space and understand how these women are articulating themselves, the spaces they have already moved in, their aspirations, it is very, very encouraging for us. So leveraging it from a way of you have a learning attitude and you want to glean what those who have gone ahead of you have. I also sought a coach. Out of the board members, I found out one was actually a coach. I sought her out on the side and allowed myself to sit under them. And they will watch me in board meetings and say, I think you did well today. So sometimes you can work with people who are within the organization to stir you and move you ahead. When you identify them and show them why you will want to work with them, most women are willing to help you come up. She did help me, and I turned out very differently in a span of 2 years. I was a totally different person from running one country to 6 countries and being able to sit in all the board meetings across the countries with confidence and even approaching regulators on my own. I didn't have that. That woman helped me out. And I would say one of the other things that also maybe as the last one that I will then do to other women is I joined a mentorship program through the Marketing Society of Kenya. And my interest was purely to help women who are trying to navigate into the marketing profession, but now I also look in financial services. So I've spent time being allocated women that I mentor and see and cheer them on, and have moments of when they want to move to the next level. So I think it's both looking front and look at the back and work with the people that you want to move ahead.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Charity. That's impressive. Women.
Thank you very much, Charity. So I think networking is a skill, and then I'm also learning the skill, especially if you're an introvert, right? So I think it's a skill that we have to learn continuously and continuously. We have to continuously learn it, right, and be deliberate about it. That I want to build a network of women or male that are in my industry, people that I can look up to, and also people that I learn from. For me, when I think of mentorship, I think of it as two ways: value. So as a mentee, so if I'm looking at someone that I want to be my mentor, I look at what value can I add to this person. So most times when we think of mentor-mentee relationship, we think about, oh, just getting everything from the mentor. But I also look at what values can I add, right? So I was speaking to someone. a couple of days ago, and she mentioned that she wanted to reach out to someone to be a mentor. The person is well known in the industry, a very well-known coach in the industry, and she was like, what value can I add to this person? And then she goes over to the lady and tries to build a relationship, and she tells her, oh, I'll help you with your anything that you need to do about tech. I'll help you with your any lady is not so technology savvy. I'll help you anything you need to do about tech, your flyers, how to do Canva, how to set up meetings, how to do your
Wow.
presentation. But at the same time, I need to learn. This is what I need to learn from you within a certain period. So I think that mentor mentee relationship for the mentee, you need to think about value. What
Yeah.
value can you also add to your mentor? Another thing is networking, just like Charity say, like networking is a skill that you need to learn and continuously learn and look out for. There are a lot of programs in Nigeria now that promotes women collaboration and network. So from Rimbies to a lot of others, you can find those that aligns with your values and join. There's also indirect mentorship, looking at people. So I have people that I look up to. They don't even know. So I look at what course is this person doing. As soon as they update a course, I'm going to look at it. Does it align with what I need to do? So looking at all their profile, they don't even know that there's somebody that is watching them. So just looking
Yeah.
at those ones, whatever they dish out, there's a lot of information on the internet, even those that are not that are abroad, all over the world. Like what information are they dishing out? What are they reading? What courses are they doing? What are they speaking about? And then trying to digest all those information. So you don't have a one-on-one relationship with them, but you have they're able to mentor you indirectly because you have access to the materials that they are putting out there. And then I'll go back to it being deliberate and intentional. So going for networking events, looking for opportunities to connect, and then in connecting, you're also thinking about adding value. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I think I'm going to take note of your last point. Be willing to network. I sometimes when I'm in a room, I'm like, who do I talk to here now? What's feels like everybody knows themselves, or these people are fired. What will a small me say? But yeah, and I think I like what you also mentioned, Bonnie, about value. I've not looked at it from that way. Yeah, I know that you're not always to just want to receive, receive, receive. There should be something that you should be able to give. And I think you also reiterate on what has been mentioned so far, standing out. What are the values that you have? And I think I also mentioned that sometimes it's not in the skills that you have. They don't necessarily have to be those big things. You mentioned you touched on Canva. It could be just okay. I'm very good personally. I'm very good with organizing things. I also organize events on the side. When there's a work event, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. Don't worry, what do we need to do? I put people in. So it might not necessarily mean that oh, it's a technical skill. It's something that just makes their life a bit better or a bit easier. And I think that this is something that we should take note as women. All right, so this would be the second to the last question, and so the question says, just a minute. Okay, yeah. So what are the key? I know that we've talked about leadership, learning, and all of that. And like I earlier said when we started at the fintech industry is really growing. Like we are having a lot of before you know it, just a new startup is here, and it's about maybe payments gateway. It has to do with money. It just really has to do with money. So the question would be, what are the key leadership challenges and opportunities presented by the rapid pace of technological change in the financial industry? Now, there are, yes, about to work in fintech, there are challenges, but there are also opportunities. So what are the key leadership challenges and opportunities presented by the rapid pace of technological change in the financial industry? I think I'll start with Charity, and then when you can let me just also touch on this. All right, over to you, Charity.
Thank you. I think the question of technology and how it's affecting our universe, our world, it's cutting across all sectors. And I think in financial services, there is a lot that is happening. I will give you a good example of what has happened in the Kenyan market in financial services. And I will be specific to talk about microfinance, which is a key pillar of financial inclusion. And from a place where financial services research was done by financial access. There's a financial access research that happens by financial sector deepening organization, and together with the central bank. Microfinance institutions had a usage of about 2% when they kicked off around 2006. They rose up a little bit around 2010 and 2016. They were back to almost where they were those many years ago. But when we look at what has happened in that period, there has been a huge, huge growth of digital lending that came in. Banks also started finding ways to do microfinance through technology. And so the same customer who these institutions were working with is already now being served by, has a lot of options from telcos who are offering all those financial services now through the mobile wallet. And we have banks that have even better capital to deploy technology to serve them. We have basically all avenues of finding money and working with money were available to this person who had to fill in forms at some point and go walking around looking for collateral. And now all they needed was their phone to access financial services. So in this state space, then the challenge was how quickly can business leaders embrace these changes that are happening to relook their business model. If you're going to hang with the same business model you had, definitely things, the market will move. You will not then be able to catch that customer. But also, on the other hand, you have a challenge of a consumer now who is very demanding in terms of efficiencies. Can I do this on my own? Can I do this on my phone? Do you really need this paperwork? So there is a lot of demand on that end. But as this is happening, you're also being faced by global issues around data security. How do you able to handle that? So there are forces in terms of challenges coming from every side to leaders to be able to stand up and lead the way in terms of quickly um, understand what's happening, package that in a way that you can come up with solutions that are able to keep up with the market needs and the stakeholders' needs. Various players in the industry are also pushing to catch up, whether they are regulators. Everyone is trying to catch up with what's going on and regulate the industry. So I think for leaders, it's being abreast of these changes very fast and being agile to be able to adapt, move, change one thing at a time, see the results, and move in small steps until you achieve the level that you want to operate at.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Charity. I think that was quite insightful. I'm gonna.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Kemi. Thank you, Charity. Charity has practically said everything. But just to say a few, or just to contribute a few more, I think that for as leaders in the industry, we see a lot of changes, a lot of disruptive changes from technology, just like Charity mentioned, to regulation. Our industry is consistently changing. So you can wake up this morning and then there's something, especially in a country as dynamic and amazing like ours, right? So as leaders, or one thing that we must do is to build resilience. We must empower our teams to embrace change, to see change not as an obstacle or a roadblock, but as a platform or as a tool for transformation and innovation, right? So we must consistently innovate, leverage on technology to to analyze the current trends in the industry. So we must do that. We must have technology in place to that can preempt these changes, and then put strategies in place to adapt or to move on. So one thing that is critical is embracing change, putting the technology in place to work on those changes, and then also empowering your teams to embrace change, especially for organizations that are as not as dynamic, even in financial sectors that are not as dynamic. They have to embrace change and then see it as an opportunity. Change is always an opportunity. And then also looking inward to leverage on your competitive advantage, your core competencies, and your strengths. Um,
Thank you. Okay, so I think this is just the last question. I'm not sure there's any question in the chat box. So we've talked about what to do, how to do them, how to enhance our skills, giving value, be resilient, identifying your core values, understanding the business, building building competencies and all of that. So um this question just as soon as women we already have all of these, we know how to do all of this. So now, how can women balance the demand of leadership roles with personal and family responsibilities? So you're going from one meeting or the other, you're trying to work on a particular document, you want to pitch to this company, and yes, so there's still your personal life and there's still the family responsibility. So how do we, as women, how do we balance the demand? So now it's balance. We need to know that okay, there's work, there's the mean, and there's also the family, so that we do not burn out. Gome, I think you
okay.
can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So, according to Indra Noya, the former CEO of Pepsi, she said building an effective support system and then ranking your priorities based on high to low. So you determine what to focus on at any particular time. So as career women, I think that family comes first, but it's a matter of building priorities, prioritizing what is important at every point in time, and having a support system in place, right? From family to even in the workplace, just having an effective support system in part of your life, and then taking one step at a time,
Yeah.
understanding that we're not superhumans, because I know that women feel that, oh, we can multitask, we can do a lot of things, so that we don't burn out. It is very important that we have effective support system in place, and then prioritizing and putting those systems that work for us at every particular time. Yeah,
Wow.
thank
Thank you. I think I agree on that support system. It's very key, and we are not superwomen because I think
you.
it's just a woman thing. I can do it. It doesn't really
Can do
matter.
everything.
And being, I think being well rested is very very important as a leader, because you are able to think very well and can think well. I think basically. All right, Charity.
I agree with Bonnie on that. And maybe just to add a little bit on that before I mention what I thought I would add as a different point is even with that, women, as we prioritize at that point, to understand that it's season. When your family is young and your children are young, it hits differently from when the children are a bit grown up and to when the children leave the nest. It hits all differently. So understanding the season you're in and then choosing to try and take on the load at that point that you can manage so that you have your sanity. uh, I think that's very important. But I think another aspect that I thought will help in balance is how I view my life from a lens of purpose. So I know that I'm living out my purpose in life through there is work, and that's my God given ability to influence the world in a different way in the marketplace, but also my family's purpose. there's purpose that I'm achieving in there. And so that allows me to sit back and say, this is how I want to score in this area, and this is what I want to score in this area. When it comes to family, especially if you have children, please understand that from a certain age to a certain age, as a parent, you really, really need to be present. You cannot rewind that. You can easily step out of the marketplace and come back, and you will be able to get in, find a way, navigate. Probably you'll be told the bus has moved, but you kind of can catch up. But there are certain parts of our lives that we cannot unwind. So having that also guides one in terms of let me give priority to what I can never rewind and have a second chance to influence, and that's especially the children and your family. Those are lives and generations that you need to guard. And so I will say that's my personal position at that point, and I hope if it does help anyone else, it will be good.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Um, this has been an insightful section. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from this, and want to say a very big thank you to you, Gune, and Charity, for the privilege to share from your experiences, and also, trying to see that other people get better and don't make the same mistakes. Thank you very much. Um, I want over now. Over to you, Saika.
Well, it's been a very exciting time with everybody here, and I'm pretty sure that everybody from our different channels they're enjoying the discussion so far. Everything about women is something of importance, and I think it's not just about women. Everybody should take cognizance of it and be very much interested in it because without women, there cannot be any man living anywhere in the world. And people say women are weaker vessels, but I must tell you, they are stronger vessels because what they go through, I'm pretty sure men cannot actually withstand a tenth of it. But thank you for doing justice to the discussion of today. Bone, it's nice having you. Charity, it's nice having you. And Lua Kemi, thank you so much for being a good moderator for this session. To everybody, this is Wibbifit 2024. The program continues in a short while. Stay tuned. We'll be back.